So it's about time for our annual check-in on our old friend Destiny 1. It's going to be 10 years old soon, which is crazy. I still remember the alpha and beta. A lot has happened since then, but do people still play Destiny 1? And how many? And what is there to do these days in this forgotten relic? Is it still playable? I wanted to hop on and check out the current state of the game, because as I flew into the tower, there are actually loads of people in here, which always surprises me. Anytime I load in over the past few years, the tower always seems to be full. And what's interesting is that this game is still across 3 generations. So some of these players you can see are on PS3 and 360, while most will be on PS4 and Xbox One, and some are on PS5 and Series X. Now, of course, Destiny 1 isn't and probably never will be on PC, so we can't see exact player counts or numbers. Obviously, the player base has declined since Destiny 2 came out, but in a moment, we're going to look at PvE and also PvP to see what's playable, as honestly, there are a lot of modes which are not playable because you simply cannot find a match, and some which are completely fine, and there are some tricks to it that can help. But a lot of people forget this was one of the last games on PS3 and 360 and still runs really well to this day, and even Crucible games will have PS3 players against PS5 players. So of course PS5 and Series X is pretty much just a PS4 and Xbox One port. They are still on 30 FPS, they've got the same FOV. The only difference is they have more consistent frame rates, so they're not going to drop down as much when things get crazy, and they also have faster load times and faster going in and out of menus because they're SSDs, so it's a tiny advantage but not massive. Now, Bungie stopped updating this game and there are no patches or changes. They still do take this game down for maintenance and do some tweaks and server fixes, but what you see now is forever what is going to remain unless Bungie do some kind of surprise 10th year update. Destiny 1 is basically frozen in time. They stopped doing most events, so Trials, Iron Banner haven't come around since 2017, and of course no Festival, no Dawning, Crimson Days or SRL like they used to be. But while there is no Trials or Iron Banner, Bungie did actually do a really cool fix where they added loot from those modes into these bounties, which is probably one of the most fun things to chase right now, as well as the other top tier weapons like the Ice Lunar, the Longbow, the LDR, the Matador. There's also Arms Day where you can order a weapon from the gunsmith, and the following Wednesday you can choose from really good rolls. Xur still does show up, same as usual on weekends if you're missing anything, and also Eververse is interesting. You can actually still buy silver for some reason if you wanted to, so Bungie is still making money from this game. Even though you can't buy items anymore, it's just these treasure packages which you can also earn from just playing the game from bounties and stuff like that, but these give you random items like emotes and ornaments like this Touch of Malice one that I got. Now on PS3 and 360, things are slightly different. They don't have, of course, Rise of Iron, which is when Bungie stopped developing for those consoles, and there's also no longer cross-save since 2016. There was a cutoff where character progression was split, so things you do on PS3 won't be reflected on PS4. Xur is different. He doesn't have a rotation of exotics. He only has engrams from year 1 and 2, and you also can't buy silver on here. There is also the Reef social space, which doesn't have much going on at all. It never really did, but you got Petra, the old Queen's Wrath vendor. Varix has got some prison stuff. Master Ives is the Cryptarch. There's this secret spot where you can get under the map, which is always pretty cool. Brother Vance, the old Trials vendor, and a very helpful light switch, so you can turn this lamp on or off. The third social space, Felwinter Peak, is a lot more interesting. This has got Shiro 4, he's got some Vanguard stuff, there's a bunch of wolves hanging out. Saladin's got some stuff. Even though Ephrodite took over as the Iron Banner vendor, he's still here. Tyra Khan is the Cryptarch. In the temple, it's got an Easter egg where you can ring the bells in order and you get a trophy or achievement. You got the jumping puzzle up the mountain, which is one of the coolest features in a social space. And there are also these really rare Ice and Fire tokens from the Wrath raid, and these launch you over the door where you can get to what you'll probably recognize as the Vostok map, which is actually a massive space you can run around and explore. But this was definitely one of the best social spaces. As far as Easter eggs, really cool area. Now, PvE and PvP are quite different stories these days, as most PvE you don't need matchmaking. Nice thing about Destiny 1 is you can pick any story mission at any time from the map if you want to revisit them for some fun. Although, like I said before, PvE is a bit more boring compared to Destiny 2. It's a lot slower, you feel way less powerful, and you don't have these crazy strong builds. Destiny 2 has definitely gone miles ahead in that front, but the Strike playlist has still got plenty of players, so you shouldn't have any difficulty searching for games. And also something super random I never understood is that Patrol has a difficulty selector. It's almost like at one time they might have planned to have different levels, but I don't know, it's always looked strange to me. But now let's talk about Crucible. And speaking of PvP, War Thunder is the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made. They're today's sponsor and it's free on consoles and PC. There's over 2,500 vehicles from the 1920s all the way to today's modern combat. You got tanks, you got fighter jets, you got helicopters and warships from throughout history. This game is known for being super detailed and realistic. These aren't just big hitboxes. If you look here, you can see hitting the engine or an armor panel or the fuel tank or disabling the weapons is going to damage the vehicles differently. There's an actual strategy to where you shoot them. I really like how you can see this X-ray view that shows how they take damage and the weak spots, but it doesn't have to be all realistic and difficult. It's got 3 modes. So arcade mode is the most simplified and beginner friendly. Simulator mode is the most challenging with no guardrails, and realistic mode is kind of a middle ground between the two, so you can choose how you want to play. It's also got tons of customization, so camouflages, markings, decorations from 10 major nations. So you got the US, the UK, Germany, Japan, China, Russia. It's got 70 million players worldwide and all-out PvP, so it's optimized on the Daigor engines that will have great visuals, low latency, and high frame rates even on lower-end machines. So using my link as a new player or someone who hasn't played in 6 months, you'll also get a massive bonus pack from a nation of your choice, which has 3 premium vehicles, 100k silver lions, the Eagle of Valor decorator, a 7-day free premium account, as well as the limited New Year's bonus pack until the end of January. This has also got the Gaijin Snail, Elf, Rudolph, and Grinch decals. So use my special link in the description or pinned comment to play War Thunder now for free on PC or consoles. So jumping into PvP, searching for a game is a big issue. A lot of times it will take so long that you get the mongoose error code where it times out after like 10-15 minutes and you have to search again. Your best bet is either this first one that rotates between Control and Clash, or the weekly Crucible mode here, which was Combined Arms at the time. All these other ones simply don't have enough players. So there are some bounties and challenges that require these modes that aren't really doable. Combined Arms is the vehicle one set on these special big maps that are exclusive to this playlist, and I actually really enjoyed it. And a pro tip, these heavy pikes are still ridiculously broken. Not the regular brown pikes or the interceptors, these blue ones. If you just strafe side to side, you shoot out these seeking mines that just magically bounce towards enemies and are so strong. I definitely annoyed a lot of people in these, but the best time to try and search for a game would be around nighttime in Europe, which is around evening time in America, and of course the weekends when most people would be on. So when you do find the lobby, you'll probably be playing with the same players for the rest of the day, so you'll get used to seeing a lot of familiar names and a few kind of drop in and out. But skill-based matchmaking doesn't really exist here, as there isn't really enough players for it. But it definitely does not mean that Crucible now is a cakewalk by any means. You get a weird mix of some really good hardcore players that never stop playing, and some new players that aren't very good or ones that hopped on after years of not playing. The special ammo situation is one thing I really wish they would fix, but they probably won't. But you get some at the very start of the game, and then for the rest of the match, you only get it by picking up a box or off an enemy you killed that just had some. So it's really hard to get. This is because specials were quite strong in year 3, so this is Bungie's attempt to fixing it or just kind of doing what they can to address it. But it doesn't really work. I wish they'd make it so that you could always spawn with at least a tiny bit. But that's why sidearms are also really strong, because they always have ammo, as well as you got the good old icebreaker, which you see a lot. This has, of course, infinitely spawning ammo. You can't pick up special, it just charges on its own, but you also never have to reload, which is nice. And the invective, which also charges ammo, but you can pick up special ammo to add to it, but it also does need to be reloaded. But those are the 2 main guns that bypass the kind of weird ammo system. Some of you might remember that heavy ammo is also very different in this game. So it spawns at once for both teams and you need to group up and grab it. And it creates this kind of moment of mayhem as everyone's got some, and you can be smart and just wait for most people to burn theirs so you can be one of the only ones with it. But it's also quite stressful because you need to make sure everyone is close while also not sitting there like a duck if an enemy decides to come super a bunch of you. But it is a lot more chaotic, and I do think I kind of prefer heavy being condensed into this one event, and then it's kind of back to normal and nobody has heavy. So the heavy in this game is very different. I kind of miss it, but let me know what you guys think, if you prefer this old system or Destiny 2's one. So I played quite a lot on the Void Warlock. I use the Talarlock. This is the Warlock only exotic, where if you have your super charged but don't use it, the gun just becomes insanely strong with like double the fire rate and stability and handling. So it's still like a massive damage gun, but you can fire it really quickly and it just melts. Then I also played quite a lot on the Striker Titan, so I could use the Twilight Garrison. This is one of the best exotics in the game, and Titans are still begging for it to be added in Destiny 2, which probably won't happen. It is really good. It lets you strafe boost around basically like Icarus Dash, but movement in Destiny 1 is really slow, especially with the field of view and the frame rates. This definitely kind of makes up for it and makes you feel a lot more mobile. I also use my good old favorite, the Seros Dis 47 Scout Rifle. Some of you longtime viewers will remember, I think this is one of the best guns in the game that not many people know about. You get it from Arms Day, and this is a very rare one that's got max stability and full auto. Might not seem like crazy perks, but it basically is all you need. It's like a slow firing auto rifle that's also a laser beam, and of course it's still a scout rifle, so it's got massive range, and the thing is just always my go-to. It's so easy to use. There's also the Clever Dragon. This too is like a rapid fire melt machine. It's better for close range and kind of rushing around, and definitely is good for the Striker Titan. Another really random thing I'd forgotten about in this game is the 3 of coins. You can get these from Xur, and it's pretty weird. You can pop 1 and it gives you this buff where your next boss kill or crucible match completion has a higher chance of giving you an exotic engram. So it stacks, but in kind of a weird way, where every time you get a boss or complete the crucible match, it uses the buff. But every time it gets used and you don't get an exotic, the next time you pop it, it will have an even higher chance of dropping one. So I got one in my Postmaster. Obviously, I've got every exotic, but it's still pretty funny. It gave me a Warlock exotic, which is also something we had back in Destiny 1, where you can get exotics for classes you aren't even using. It was like a troll, but back in the day, you might only play on one class and you end up getting exotic for a class you don't even have yet or have unlocked. But just one of those random Destiny 1 quirks. Also, those Treasure of Ages packages are nice. You can still earn them, and they aren't super rare, so you can get a random bunch of emotes or consumables or ornaments, which normally back in the day you'd have to spend quite a bit of money on back when they were sold. So it's nice you can still earn them without buying silver. But Bungie did quite a good job of putting this game into kind of legacy mode, where it's still playable and there's still some stuff to do and earn, considering how much was removed. I have seen a growing trend of people pointing out how little Destiny 1 content had, or especially compared to Destiny 2, and a lot of hot takes that the expansions weren't as good as people think. And I definitely agree that nostalgia is a powerful thing. But I also think that just because people have nostalgia for something that's in the past doesn't make it any less relevant because it's in the past. I mean, obviously this game's best times are definitely behind us, but if someone has a good experience that still sticks with them today, I think it's a sign of how good that thing actually was, because it's lasted and stood the test of time and you didn't forget about it like we do most things. But just because it's in the past doesn't make it any less good, in my opinion. I never thought it made sense to compare Destiny 1 to 2 because one led to the other and you don't have one without the other, but Destiny 2 should be better in every way. They've had 10 years of learning to improve it, and I think Destiny 2 is better in almost every way, but still Destiny 1 was very much ahead of its time. A lot of critiques on Destiny 1 are only noticeable because they've now been fixed or improved upon in Destiny 2. So hindsight is always 2020, but I think for a game that came out in 2014 on PS3 and 360, it is still very impressive. I see a lot of low levels in the tower with brand new accounts that look like they're playing for the first time. And the nice thing about this game is the entire campaign from start to finish is still playable. It's a very complete game, unlike Destiny 2, where Vanilla, the Red War, Curse of Osiris, Warmind, and Forsaken, one of the best campaigns ever, are completely gone. You cannot play them ever unless they bring them back, which is unlikely. So Destiny 2 begins at Shadowkeep essentially, but of course there are technical reasons for that. But Destiny 1, even 10 years later, is still complete and you can still play and have a lot of fun. As we saw in this video, there are quite a few match-made modes that aren't populated enough to play, which is a shame, but it's kind of to be expected. But at least what is playable is still very solid, and it's nice now and again to be able to just hop back on and play the original. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. I'll be reading them all. You can also drop a like on the video if you enjoyed. Maybe I'll do more of these. Don't forget to check out our sponsor, War Thunder. It's free, and using my link below will get you the bonus pack with tons of premium content. If you're a new player or haven't played in 6 months, it's only available until the end of January, so don't miss out. And you can click here to watch another video from me. But I appreciate you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.